It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and if this is your first time tuning in, the purpose of this show is just to help you, the listener, be informed about our local real estate market. So just a little bit about myself. I've been in the top 1% of agents in our market since 2009, and I've been on this program for close to a year and a half at this point, giving you insight into our local real estate market. I like to take national, regional, local news and apply that to the Low Country so that if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, you have an idea of what's going on in our market. I've given you some informational pieces that you can use to your benefit so that we can make an informed decision together. If you'd like to reach me at any point prior to this end of this weekend, any time during the week, my phone number is 843-345-1273. Or if you'd like, you can go to my website, www.listingsincharleston.com. And on that website, you can search the MLS. You can take a look at everything I have for sale and have sold. And if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab, and you can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee, which very simply states that I will sell your home in 59 days or less, or I will sell it for half my commission. So the website for that is www.listingsincharleston.com. You can also listen to some previously recorded versions of this show on that site. So for this week, I wanted to give you guys an idea of where we are in our market right now. It's a very exciting time. And so I want to go through just market numbers, give you some monthly indicators first, tell you how that applies to you, either the buyer, seller, or owner. And then a little bit later on in the program, I want to talk about in greater detail what we're seeing in terms of multiple offers, price increases in new construction, competition among sellers, because we, of course, have a pretty serious issue right now with a lack of inventory in some price ranges in different counties in our market. A little bit later on, we want to talk about how to differentiate yourself from those sellers. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, prospecting, auto MLS listings, what that means, how we can use that to our benefit. We're going to talk about price reductions. Why does it make sense to reduce the price of my house? I get that question a lot. So I want to take an entire segment and talk about that. And then lastly, I want to talk about short sales and foreclosures, because if you're out and about and you're looking at property, or if you just like to kind of search around online from time to time, you've probably noticed that there is a severe lack of available inventory in the short sale and foreclosure market. So we'll talk about that toward the end of the program here. But again, this is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Thanks for tuning in this morning. So let me give you an idea of what's going on in our market right now. Let me just kind of read off some figures for you. And before I do that, let me just say that when I put out my forecast for 2014, there were a few different people, a few different experts in this field that have, of course, varying opinions on what was going to happen in Charleston. And I got to tell you, based on the amount of property that I sell, the pulse on the market that I have, both in doing this show and, of course, just being engaged in helping people buy and sell real estate during the week and weekends, that I have a good idea of what's going on. And that really is the purpose of this show, is to help you understand where we are right now. And as expected, our market is rocking and rolling. So let me read off some of these figures for you. New listings from the end of March until, from the end of March compared to the same time frame last year. So basically year-to-date numbers for March versus the first quarter of 2013. New listings that have hit the market are only up 1%. We've only had a 1% increase in new listings compared to first quarter last year. That is not a lot. When you look at the sales, however, anything under contract right now, we call that contingent and pending. Contingent and pending sales right now compared to the first quarter is up 10%. Closed sales, property that have actually sold, are up 7.2% compared to the first quarter of last year. And again, if you've been listening to this program for a while, or if you've been in the real estate market in any form or fashion over the past 12 to 18 months, you know that our market has been very hot. And a lot of people thought that we were rising too quickly, prices were going up too quickly. This was an unsustainable level of activity. And while I agree with that overall mentality that, of course, this is not a sustainable direction for our market over time, it is still, these are the numbers. The numbers don't lie. So closed sales are up 7.2% versus the first quarter of 2013. Homes are selling 14% faster. On average, in our Tri-County area, homes are selling in 77 days. If you look at the median price, a lot of people have questions about what has happened to my house. Has it appreciated? Has it stayed the same? Where are the opportunities for some nice appreciation over the next few years if I'm looking at buying a house? And of course, all of that is really at this point neighborhood specific. But median sales prices were up 13% versus the first quarter of 2013. That's a huge jump. And there are people that like to look at, they either use the median sales price or the average sales price as their barometer for what's happening with regard to pricing. But even the average price range has been up 10% versus the first quarter of last year. So, prices are up, closings are up, inventory is down, homes are selling faster. And if you look at the average difference between the list price and the sales price, the average price that homes are selling for is about 5% off. That's what's happening in our market right now. Obviously, if you were to look a few years ago, it was much less than that. But in the Tri-County area, you can expect that if you're looking at property, and again, these are averages, but if it's decently priced, then you're looking at about 5% off. That's up 2.4% from the first quarter of 2013, where you could get 92.5% off. And then lastly, if we look at housing affordability, which is how we measure the overall affordability of owning a home right now, that is down 16%. So what's driving that number down is the increase in price coupled with the increase in interest rates. If you look at last year compared to this year, interest rates are up about a full point. Now, will they continue to go up, and at what pace will they go up? Tough to say. Obviously, people are of the opinion that because our economy is getting better, because the Fed is tapering off of purchasing bonds, and QE is really no longer in effect like it was, that interest rates should rise. And I agree with that. And we're seeing that a little bit. I've got a mortgage broker that comes on this program when I do my live show on the weekends, and we take calls. And he says it really well, I think. He says that whenever there's some sort of bad news economically, interest rates dip down just a little bit. But when there's good news, the interest rates go up more than they go down. So if you read between the lines, what that's saying is that interest rates at some point very soon will continue to rise. Will we be looking at 6% interest rates by the end of the year? I'm not sure. I think maybe by first quarter of 2015 we might be at that mark. But right now it looks like interest rates are still harboring at the 4.5% mark. So very affordable. The trick is being engaged in this market, doing the research up front, and understanding that if you're looking in, let's say, Mount Pleasant between $300,000 and $500,000, there is a double-digit increase in pricing in that area in Mount Pleasant over the past 12 months. And there was a double-digit increase in pricing 12 months prior. So we have seen a huge swing upward in the overall sales price and competitive nature of those listings. And it's not just Mount Pleasant 300 to 500,000. It's all over. It's all different pockets of the Charleston Tri-County area. So it's just an exciting time to be in real estate, because this is really when people come out of the woodwork and express an interest in buying or selling a home. And if you look at I have a team of 8 people, myself included, and we've sold a home every day this month, in the month of April. So activity is very high. And I've mentioned several times on this program that because of the way my team operates, the prospecting that we do, the marketing that we do, we've been very successful this year in matching up potential buyers with potential sellers and just creating an immediate connection so that they can either buy the property they're looking for or sell the home they want to sell in a very short amount of time. And I want to get into that next and talk about a few other things. Talk about multiple offers in this market. If you're a seller, what kind of information do you need to have right now so that in the event you receive multiple offers, how do we deal with that? What's the best strategy to deal with that? And then, of course, coming up a little bit later on, we'll talk about how different agents are running their business in this market and how that can help you in terms of locating a good deal or in selling your home faster with less stress and, of course, for more money. So stick around. I'm going to take a quick break. Again, if you'd like to reach out to me, my phone number is 843-345-1273. You can text me at that number and, of course, visit my website, www.listingsincharleston.com. Search the MLS, really have a bunch of information on that website. And if you're considering selling a home, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You'll learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. And if you're thinking of buying a home, send me a message. Maybe I've got some sellers that we're working with right now that aren't quite ready to list, but would entertain an offer. It's happened multiple times this year already. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back and good morning. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this morning. If you're just joining me, we just talked about what's going on in our market right now. I gave you some figures that were based on March numbers, really end of first quarter 2014 numbers, and gave you an idea of how that compares to the same amount of time last year. And the very quick update to that, if again you're just tuning in, is that prices are up, sales are up, pending sales are up. New listings are only up 1%, but the net adjustment to the overall inventory or the month's supply of inventory in our market is down. So in other words, if you're a buyer, you've got more competition. You've got to be better prepared to make an offer on your dream home. And if you're a seller, depending upon where you are and your situation, you're sitting pretty. You should have buyers fighting over your house if you've priced it correctly and if it's in good condition. So, just a very basic update on where we are right now. If you'd like to reach out to me at any point during this program, or if you have real estate-based questions, we can do it very confidentially in nature. Feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. You can also text me at that number or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. Search the MLS, take a look at what I have for sale, what I've sold. I've got a list on there of properties that I've sold recently that other agents did not sell, which are expired and withdrawn listings, which we're going to talk about here shortly. And then if you're considering selling your home, click on the Sell Your Home tab. Learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee, which very simply states that I will sell your home in 59 days or less, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to get that information. So before we took a break, we were talking about the market. I want to talk a little bit more about if you're a buyer, how to prepare, and if you're a seller, how to prepare. So let's start with buyers. If you're a buyer in this market, and I kind of touched on this last program, but I want to reiterate it because it's just such a busy market right now. I mentioned in my last segment that my team and I sold a home every day this month, and it looks like that trend is going to continue for quite some time just due to the level of activity out there. So if you're a buyer, let me tell you some of the things that we've done that have really helped us. Because let's say you're an out-of-town buyer, and if you're an out-of-town buyer, obviously you're driving around, you're listening to the show, and you're considering purchasing a home in the Charleston area. But how do you prepare prior to getting here? So what we do as buyer agents is we collect all the information up front. We tell you what the taxes are going to be. We tell you what the home insurance is going to be. Obviously, flood insurance has been a huge deal here in the Charleston area. We've seen some cases as of a few months ago where flood insurance was going from $2,000 a year to $20,000 a year. And thankfully, a bill has been passed that has eradicated that. And so I've got plenty of segments and all that good stuff on my website, listingsincharleston.com. Listen to some of my previous shows where I've almost dedicated an entire show to what's going on in flood insurance. But of course, if you have questions about that, 843-345-1273 is how to contact me. So we're giving the buyers all the information up front so that when they're ready to start looking, they have the information they need to make an informed decision. We also look at pricing history. How long has the home been on the market? How many price reductions have they had? What did they buy it for? How much do they owe? We put all this information together in a packet when we're looking at properties so that if we have questions, we can answer them immediately. But again, you're provided with that information even before we go out and start looking. And so once we have property we're interested in, then of course it's up to your real estate agent, assuming you've hired them as your buyer agent, which is done through a buyer agency agreement. Don't assume that if you're just talking with a real estate agent that they are your agent and protect your best interests. That's not how it works. You have to become a client, which is done through a buyer agency agreement. So we look at everything that's sold. We come up with what we believe to be the true fair market value of the property. And then from there, we start to negotiate. So if we look at sellers right now, we're experiencing a lack of inventory. And I've said this again and again and again, especially when it comes to short sales and foreclosures. But we're going to get into that a little bit later on in this program. If you're a seller right now, assuming you have priced your home intelligently based on everything that's sold in your area over the past several months, and you're in good condition, you've taken the time and the effort to prepare your home for sale, you've spruced up your landscaping, you've done some touch-up painting where your kids scuffed up the wall when they run in from the garage and kick their shoes all over the wall. Little things like that really can make a big difference because when a buyer looks at it, it's perceived as work, and work is money. So if you're a seller, assuming that you've priced it correctly and it's in good condition, you should be receiving offers. If you are not receiving offers, I firmly believe that it's because of the real estate agent you've hired and what they are doing and what they are not doing to promote your property. So let me give you just an idea of how I run my team. I have 8 people on my team, myself included, and 3 hours every day we prospect for new business because real estate agents have 2 jobs. Of course, our first job is working with our current clients, our current buyers and sellers to help them purchase and sell property and get them through the transaction to their financial benefit. But our other job is finding new business. And a lot of agents really, they miss this. They are very reactive to our market rather than being proactive. So every day from 8 to 11, my team and I are prospecting for new business. Now, if we have to meet with somebody in the morning, of course we do, but we replace that time in the afternoon so that we never stop prospecting for new business. And so when I say that we have the ability to match up a buyer and a seller before it hits the market, it's because of the prospecting that we're doing. Collectively, 8 people prospecting 3 hours a day is 120 hours a week of finding new business for our clients. So when you work with a single agent, I'm sorry, but they don't have 120 hours a week just to prospect and then run the entire other side of the business. Because the other side of the business takes 80% of your time. The 20% that generates the most income is the time spent finding new business for the benefit of our buyers and sellers. So that's how we run our team. And I also want to give you guys an idea of how most agents kind of run their day-to-day. They do not prospect. They do not pick up the phone. They react to emails. They surf the web. They do whatever they do during the day. I see it all the time because we have 200 agents in our office, and you can tell the agents that are producers and the agents that just, they'll sell maybe a home a month or less. And it's because of the time that they take during the day to produce results. So if you're a buyer and you're in this market right now and you've decided that you've engaged an agent, they're sending you properties in the MLS, let me tell you what those agents do. It's very simple. They set you up in the MLS. They create search criteria for you so that each time a new listing hits the market or an existing listing drops their price, you're emailed from that system. And I would be willing to bet that is how 98% of agents in our market run their business. They set you up, they set it and forget it, and they expect you, the buyer, to send them what you're interested in. Now, obviously, there's benefit to being informed of new listings and listings that drop their price immediately, but it's our job as buyer agents to go out into the market and find you the best deal based on what you've told us you're looking for. So if I'm receiving those emails as well, and I check my email at 7:30 in the morning, I'm going to give you a call at 8 o'clock and say, hey, did you see that 4-bed, 2-bath house that just listed this morning at the end of the cul-de-sac with a pool? Can you meet me there at noon today so we can take a look at it? I think that's what people want when they hire a real estate agent, is they want them to do their job. And I don't think that's a ridiculous thing to ask, but it's not what most agents do, because that takes time and that takes work. So I don't want to harp too much on agents and what they do or don't do to satisfy their clients and to really give them the benefit of all the tools that we have in this day and age. But I see it happen more and more. Buyers come to our team, they work with us because they say, yeah, we learned about this great listing and it was perfect, but we found out about it 4 days too late, and it was because we were searching on Zillow or Trulia or whatever the website was, and it was already under contract. So we eliminate that. We don't like it when we have a buyer that finds their dream home has been put under contract, because that's our fault as the agent in not being prepared enough or proactive enough to say, hey, this fits your needs. Let's go take a look at it immediately because it's priced well. Here's all the information. And if you like it and you're ready, let's make an offer. And here's what we should offer based on comparable sales. So when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, because this is really, I'm seeing it a lot right now. Obviously, our market is very busy. Our team sold a house a month, or house a day this month. And I expect it to continue because we've got so much activity. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Again, reach out to me personally, 843-345-1273. Call or text me at that number, or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com, and learn more about our level of experience and how we can help you. Thanks, and stick around. We'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. That's lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com.
The Big Talker, WTMA.
Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me and being with me this morning. I really appreciate you listening into the program. If this is your first time tuning in, or if you just turned on the show, what we do here is we talk real estate in the Charleston area. And I'm a big numbers guy. If you guys have been following my program, you know that I like to talk stats. I like to give you guys an idea of, just from a statistical standpoint, where our market stands, what the growth is, where the potential is for some good deals. And if you're a buyer or a seller, you can use this information to your benefit so that when it comes time to buy or sell a house, you're informed. Before I get started into my next segment, because we're kind of transition if you've been with me since the start of the program, if you'd like to reach out to me, the best way to do that is to go to my website, www.listingsincharleston.com, and you can learn more about me. You can read some testimonials, search the MLS, take a look at everything I have for sale and have sold. And if you're interested in selling your house, which is what we're going to talk about right now, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You'll learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee at 4.5% commission. And there are a few other guarantees that I have that benefit sellers that I just don't discuss on the radio because I don't want what agents have done already this year, which is just become another version of Brian Beatty and offer the same incentives that I do. But again, I've been in the top 1% of agents in our market since 2009, so best of luck to you, other agents. Just kidding. All right, so we talked about what's going on in our market right now. I kind of set the stage for just the level of activity we have, and if you're a buyer, how prepared you need to be in this market, because there's just a large amount of competition right now. If you're a seller, you've been on the market for a while, or let's say you've been on the market for 6 months or a year and your home didn't sell, why didn't it sell? Why haven't I received offers? And one of the first things I ask these sellers is, in your opinion, why do you think your home didn't sell? And the answers I get are very consistent. Number one, it's communication from their previous listing agent. They wish they knew. They wish they knew why their house didn't sell, but they don't know because the agent only spoke with them, a few times in a 6 month or 1 year period. And anytime they called them, it was to, hey, we need to reduce our price. And when the seller asks why, it's, well, because we've been on the market. That's not a good enough answer. So I want to provide you with the information that really helps you understand why price reductions are sometimes a good idea. I think there are also sellers that say, well, I'm thinking about raising the price, and I want to talk about that too. So again, if you're a seller in this market, let's say that you've been on the market for 6 months, a year, a few years. We see it every day. We see, I think last year the number was 10,000 houses did not sell. They expired or withdrawn from the MLS without selling. Didn't receive a contract. They still want to sell their house, but they don't understand what went wrong. So I think the first thing that I want to talk about is just the initial consultation that we have with sellers and how that's different from most agents. What most agents do is they bring a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis, with everything that's sold in the neighborhood over the past 6 months. They populate that data prior to getting to your house, and then they sit down with you, they present to you their marketing plan, and they say, here's the CMA, here's everything that's sold, and based on the price per square foot average in your neighborhood, I suggest we list here. So the first thing I want to talk about is pricing. When we look at pricing a house, in my opinion, I think it's very important to look at the house first before offering my opinion of value. I'm certainly not going to just ballpark a listing price to a seller, because really the price is the most important reason that they need to sell their home, right? It's associated with the equity that they have in their property. So my approach is a little bit different. I go to the house, we walk through it, I present my marketing plan, I tell them everything I do to generate buyer interest, show them the amount of closings we've had where we ended up bringing the buyer because, I could pay for all the marketing in the world, but if we can't generate showings, or if we can't capture interest from those buyers, then it's really all for nothing. So I show them the amount of property that we've been able to sell where we brought the buyer to the transaction in and of our own marketing. And then, of course, we give them a good idea of just market in general. Okay, but I do not tell them what I think their house is worth right then and there. And the reason I do that is because I think it's worth it to them to wait maybe an extra hour or a few hours so that I can go back to the MLS and really conduct more of an appraisal on their property, not a CMA, because CMAs are different. CMA, all you're doing is printing out a list of properties that have sold. You have limited information. Usually it's just on a printed piece of paper, so you can't look at pictures. You have no idea what kind of condition the house is in. You don't know what their upgrades are. You might as well use the Zillow estimate for your house. And by the way, there's a huge standard deviation in the pricing that they provide you with because Zillow hasn't been to your house. They haven't seen the upgrades. They don't know what kind of condition it's in. And sometimes the information they have is wrong information when they use their algorithms to determine what they think your house is worth. It's ridiculous. I hate Zillow estimates, but we get it all the time. And I've got a previous show on my website, listingsincharleston.com, where I really kind of bashed that system because it's providing the seller with inaccurate and incomplete information. But anyways, off of that tangent. Talking about the appraisal after I meet with the seller, I think it's worth it to them to wait just a little bit longer so that I can really dive deep into the comps and make individual adjustments for things like condition and upgrades. Now, obviously, we can look at things like location, and I can look at bed, bath, square footage, and do all of the basic computations before I get to the house. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been in the top 1% of agents since 2009, so I can get pretty darn close to what I think your house is worth without being there, but pricing is extremely important, especially in this market. So I go back and I look at everything, and then I submit a detailed report that discusses the difference between the subject property, the seller's house, and everything that is on the market, under contract, and that has sold. And what I'm finding is that agents aren't doing that. I've taken close to 40 listings so far this year, the first quarter of this year, and almost every seller I met with said, wow, this is a much different approach. I wonder why this isn't done by more real estate agents. And it's because it takes more time. Very simply, it's because it takes more time, and agents are lazy by nature. They like to use the technologies that's available to them. It's usually the path of least resistance for most real estate agents. And I say that because in 2013, to be in the top 1% of in 2013, to be in the top 10% of agents in our market, you had to sell, I think the number was 14 homes a year, which is basically one a month. So that means that 90% of our realtor community sells less than one home a month. That's kind of a scary statistic. So in terms of pricing your home to sell, it really starts with the initial consultation so that we can set the right expectation and then look at market trends. That's why I go over numbers with you guys. That's why we talk about what's going on in our market, because agents aren't doing this. Agents don't take the time to really dive deep into the numbers and formulate their own opinion on what's happening in our market. What they do is they just reiterate what they hear from other agents or their broker in charge when they have their sales meeting or some sort of report put out somewhere. Really, you need to dive deep and figure out what's going on for yourself so that you can relay that information and give the seller an idea of what to expect. I think that's a very basic element of what we do as real estate agents, and I am always surprised at the overall lack of effort that people put into this business. You know, we were talking earlier about prospecting for new business. Most agents don't prospect. They don't. They just pay for some sort of, marketing system, or they pay for some membership fee that just gives them a certain number of leads a month, and they don't do anything for it. It just comes to their inbox. They call them. They follow up with them. You know, the average time that it takes an internet shopper to buy a house is like 13 months, and they wonder why they don't have any sales. So going back to pricing the house, we're talking about price reductions now at this point. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this for the final segment, because I really want to dive deep into this, and I want to have sellers understand why price reductions are important, because it's a big question sellers ask, and I don't think a lot of agents can answer it appropriately. And sometimes price reductions don't make sense, and that's fine. It's not about just doing recurring price reductions. It's about making sense out of all of it. So I tell you what, I'm going to take a quick break. If you'd like to reach out to me, my number is 843-345-1273, or you can go to my website, www.listingsincharleston.com. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA, and I'll be right back.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
WTMA.
Expert news and views on the Low Country real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Thanks for joining me this morning. If you're just tuning in, we talk everything real estate here on this program. And earlier in the day, we talked about just what's going on in the market right now. I gave everybody a perspective of how our market has continued to shift toward a seller's market. Homes are selling in less time and for more money. Prices are increasing. Closings are up. Inventory is down. So if you're a buyer, it's a tough market to compete within if you have very specific criteria. And if you're a seller, you should be sitting pretty. But we talked last program about what we need to do to make sure that we are positioned to receive that offer, because now is the time. Now is when buyers come out of the woodwork, and now is the time that we need to make sure that we've done everything we can to sell your home. So before I took a break, I told you that this segment I want to talk about price reductions and why that makes sense for sellers to do. When is it appropriate to do it? How much should I do? And why should I do it? Before I get into that, if you'd like to reach out to me, I am a top agent in the area, have been since 2009. If you'd like to reach me, my phone number, which you can also text, is 843-345-1273. Or if you'd like, you can go to my website, learn a little bit more about my level of experience. You can read some testimonials from past clients, search the MLS, take a look at everything I have for sale and have sold. And if you're thinking about selling your house and anything I say in this segment really appeals to you and you'd just like to learn more information, go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, and click on the Sell Your Home tab. And when you do that, you'll see that I have a 59-day home sale guarantee. And that very simply states that I will sell your home in 59 days or less, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So send me a message if you're interested in that. There are some exclusions to that program. Happy to talk with you about it and hopefully earn your business. So let's get into this because we don't have too much time. This is the last segment. So we're talking about why should I reduce the price of my house? When I sit down with sellers, especially sellers that have had their home on the market for 6 months, 12 months, whatever the case might be, and it hasn't sold, and we discuss why it hasn't sold, one of the things that always comes up is price. Were we priced correctly? If we were priced correctly, why didn't we get an offer? Maybe it was a marketing issue. Maybe it was the agent wasn't attentive enough. Maybe they didn't put it online properly. There are a myriad of issues that can occur when you hire an agent to sell your house. So before we get into the price reductions, we really need to ask ourselves some questions, because obviously we list the house, we come up with a strategy to sell it, and based on that consultation that I do, which is a 2-part consultation, I go into the house and I physically look at the house, and then I go back and compare that house to comparable sales so that I can do individual adjustments for things like flooring and cabinetry and countertops and upgraded bathrooms, lot size, screen porch, you name it. Everything in your house has an associated value, and we need to be able to compare that intelligently to everything else that has sold. And if an agent just comes to your house with a CMA and say, hey, here's everything that's sold in the past 6 months, here's the average price per square foot, we need to be right around there, that's not enough. So that's the process of discussing pricing. So before we talk about price reductions after having been on the market, we need to ask ourselves some questions. How many ads have been posted? How do those ads look online? Did we take professional photography, or do the photos need to be redone? Is there something about the way in which it appears online or in any other marketing medium that we're using that necessitates some change? What we're trying to do with online marketing is inspire an agent to contact me or their real estate agent to take a look at the house. That is the purpose of marketing, is to schedule showings. And the more showings we have, the better opportunity we have to sell your home. It's just a numbers game. So how do our ads look online? That's where everything starts. How does the house appear in comparison to everything else in the neighborhood? If you're in a luxury subdivision, but your home hasn't been pressure washed and there's weeds in the flower beds and children's toys are consistently left out in the front yard, and it looks like it needs some work, then maybe there's something we can do there. So have we done everything we can within reason to make it appear as though the buyer, when they walk through the house, kind of gets this sense of relief that, wow, this is a beautiful home. All I have to do is just move my furniture in. That's what we're going for. And if your home needs a bunch of work, then obviously we can't really create that experience for them, but we account for it in price, and we create motivation in other ways. Other questions we need to ask ourselves: how many showings have we had, and what has the feedback been from those buyers? If we're consistently getting feedback that the price was good, they just didn't like the floor plan, or they didn't like the area, or there's something about the house that we can't change, then I don't really think we need to reduce the price. Now, if it stays that way for months on end, and we're saying, hey, it's a great price, but we just weren't interested, then the question from the listing agent should be, what would it take to have your buyer make an offer? What do we need to do to get your client motivated enough to have it be their top choice and make us an offer? I don't think agents are asking those questions. They're not being proactive enough when they have showings. They need to be calling the agent before they get there to say, hey, here are the great things about this house. And then afterwards, once that feedback is received, if there is any hope for that buyer in being interested in this property, if they're somewhat interested, if they're maybe interested, we need to find out why. Why are they interested, and why are they not moving forward with an offer? What can we change? So in my opinion, all of these questions need to be answered so we have a very clear understanding of how your home is perceived online and how other buyers are perceiving it before we make price adjustments. So please understand that if you're on the market or you've been on the market for some period of time, if that wasn't done, then you really need to hire an agent that's going to go the extra mile and do that for you so that we have a very clear understanding of why we're adjusting. Okay? So some of the questions we need to ask ourselves is, what is potentially wrong with our house? What is it about this house that buyers just don't like? Is there anything we can change? If you have a very traditional floor plan and you're in an area where the majority of homes are a contemporary, more open floor plan, well, guess what? We really can't do anything about that unless you're willing to move some walls around. So that's not a valid concern, in my opinion. But if it's a consistent piece of feedback, then at least we know that, hey, there's nothing we've done or haven't done. It's just the overall taste of the buyer. So now let's get into the point where it makes sense for us to reduce the price. What are the precursors to adjusting price on your house? Well, the first thing is that when I list a home with a seller, I tell them that every week I'm going to be in touch with them, and every week they are going to receive online traffic reports from me. And just a little bit of background, in 2006, I was Entrepreneur of the Year here for creating a real estate-based online marketing company. So when you talk about online marketing and we talk about how to generate interest online and why buyers shop the way they do and how we can capture them as potential clients, believe me, I understand it. So every week you're going to see, here's how many clicks we generated for your house. I think you'd be astonished at the amount of online traffic I promote for my listings. I think that, this is a rough number, but at the end of 2013, we had generated something like 250,000 clicks on our properties, which is just it's a staggering number, really. But the first thing we need to do is determine whether or not we're getting the online traffic. The more online traffic we have, the more prepared we'll be for showings. And of course, the more showings we have, the more we're prepared for an offer. So if the online traffic isn't there, if there's something about your property that's just not enticing people enough to click on it, then that should be a sign to us that we need to make some sort of adjustment. And most of the time, that adjustment is to price. And also understand that when you first list your house for sale, that really is the best time to sell it. And the reason for that is because you're marketing to two different groups of buyers initially. Group one are the people that are already in the market. They're looking for a house. They just haven't found what they want to buy yet. So that's group one. Group two are the people that choose to enter the market every day. Group two is a always changing group. There are people that just choose to enter the market every day, and it's purely situational. But the people that we want to target first, of course, are the people that are ready, willing, and able to buy something now, assuming they find what they want. So that's why when we start to get into the 30, 45, 60-day mark, depending upon your house, its price range, and where it's located, that's when we really need to start looking at price and say, okay, reason stands to believe that we may have exhausted that first group of people, or at least the first group of people have seen your listing online. They've either chosen to come and take a look at it, or they've chosen not to for whatever reason, be it personal, price, location, condition, whatever. So that's why, 30 days in, we need to start looking at price reductions. Now, how much do we reduce the price of the house? A lot of that is determined by the price that we set initially. I will tell you that in this market right now, I am not afraid of pushing the envelope on pricing. Pricing is going up. So I don't want to discount my ability to get my seller the most money possible for their house, because my marketing works. I pay a ton of money to market my homes. I show my homes a lot. I mentioned earlier that collectively as a team, myself and the other 7 agents on it, we prospect 120 hours a week to try and find prospects for our sellers. So there's a lot that goes into generating this activity, but if the activity isn't there, then we need to look at how we're priced in comparison to the rest of the market and make a necessary adjustment. The last thing that I will say is that if your agent is not providing you with consistent weekly updates on what's happening in the market, in other words, if the only time they looked at price was when they listed your house and then they just circle back to it every month or two to say, oh, yep, okay, well, maybe we need to make an adjustment because we don't have enough showings, you should be receiving that data instantaneously. If something goes under contract at the end of the street and it's comparable to yours, that is the best information we have to justify value for your house. So, of course, when you list with me, I provide you with all that information on a consistent basis so that we always know what's happening in your market as it relates to your home. So there's a lot more that I could talk about. Unfortunately, I'm out of time, but I'll say this. If you're considering selling your home, please contact me. We have a lot of buyers looking right now, and we are selling property very fast. The website to go to is listingsincharleston.com, and feel free to call me at 843-345-1273. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Join Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning from 8 till 9. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.